If I could turn back time, well, I wouldn't. But that doesn't mean it's not fun to look back. Just 7 short months ago, I dropped my first list of this sort, and y'all took like it to a fish to water. 90,000 of you. And I'm back and better than ever to give you a Redux version. I've calculated, tinkered, and perfected this list only a man with a beautiful mind such as myself can. Let's start with 2014, going with the movies, only the movies that I rated positively. Starting at the bottom, The Possession of Michael King. Now this is probably the most recent inclusion on this list. It is somewhat typical found footage, somewhat typical possession movie with a lot of jump scares. And if you like that type of stuff, I would say you would enjoy this. But that is why it's at the bottom, the typical. Although kind of disturbing too, so beware going in. 13 Sins. I enjoyed the story aspect of this, kind of how far can you push someone, especially those who have monkey problems. Why would I have monkey problems? But there's been a lot of films since then that have kind of co-opted this style, which makes it feel less fresh on rewatch than it truly was when it came out. Number 6, The Babadook. This is one that is just praised by a number of people, and I'm going to get flamed for putting this low on the list. And honestly, the kid is really annoying. I dislike the mom, but it's still good. And I get it. It's allegorical. I appreciate that. And I can see why people like it. It was a bit grating for me. 5, The Taking of Deborah Logan. I like when a horror movie can effectively make you second guess whether what you're watching is real, psychiatric to one of the characters, smoke and mirrors, what have you. This film does that very well, and I enjoyed the ending as well. 4, Creep. I watched a lot of the leak. Sorry for kind of mumbling there. But it has the main character in this, the main antagonist, as one of the funny characters, one of the more likable characters. So I was super surprised to see him in such a dark project like this, but it is creepy to say the least, thus the name. Number 3, As Above, So Below. Man, there's a lot going right for this film. It's a really cool story that goes way, way deeper than you expect from, I guess, the trailers. I remember this being hyped up when it came out, and when I finally watched it, yeah, I was not disappointed in the least. Number 2, What We Do in the Shadows, and they have a great television show that I believe it's either on FX or Hulu. Either way, I mean, if you have Hulu Live TV, you can watch it on there. I don't even know, you might just get it with Hulu. But the movie was and is one of the funniest inclusions on this list. And yeah, it's not going to scare you very much, but it will damn sure entertain you. Leaving It Follows at number 1. Look, if you don't like this film, chances are I don't like you. But that's okay, because we can overcome all differences. Because not enough of you are subscribed. You know, I post videos week in and week out, but that's nothing without a community. And yeah, while you It followers, dislikers, we might not be the best of friends or on the best of terms right now, that doesn't mean that can't change, because I want all of you to join us so I can hear your thoughts every single movie and topic that gets discussed. And I want you, most importantly, so we can build something together and let our opinions be known to each other and maybe find a common denominator or a good meeting ground or middle ground, rather. Now, let's go on to 2015, where we're going to head it off at number 6 with The Devil's Candy. Now, this is a very weird movie for sure. One that is pretty fresh. It isn't very played out for the most part. It's got heavy metal in it, so if you like that, it's one of the few movies that it is almost integral to the foundation of the movie, that it has that. And overall, just pretty entertaining. Then we have Hell House LLC. I was delighted to hear that this was a series, and yeah, I know some of the movies in that series are kind of better off not having been made, but trust me, when we move this to 2015, 2025, I will have seen those to include them in the years in which they correspond. Now we have The Invitation. This is a great ending, honestly, that really makes it. Like I said, with the taking of Deborah Logan, when you can effectively make audience members wonder if it's real, I think you got something good going there. Number 3, we have The Witch. Robert Eggers has proven in this past year, 2024, crazy to say that he is that dude. And The Witch was an early iteration of him telling us that, but it took us a few more times to really realize how damn good he was. Number 2, Green Room. This is a, non-paranormal kind of this is the evil of us humans movie with some gore, some violence, and I'm about that. And number 1 has that in spades. I'm talking Bone Tomahawk. When you hear Western horror, your thought probably isn't, ooh, we're in for a good one, but that is the case with Bone Tomahawk. If you want to see a man cut in half long ways, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the movie for you. We're going to go into 2016 hot, starting at number 9 with 10, Cloverfield Lane. This is just a tremendous example of letting the audience know just enough or keeping a lot of information away from them to then make the rest of the movie kind of the reveals very impactful, and it does so very, very well. Number 8, Conjuring 2. What would this list be without the inclusion of Conjuring? And yes, I understand some of you are probably sick and tired and hate that series. And quite frankly, I find Conjuring 1 to be the best, but Conjuring 2 is second in that universe for me personally, and one that is still pretty solid. Number 7, Split. Now, James McAvoy put on an acting kind of just a show for all of us, and it was one of those roles that showed, wow, this dude can really act. Is it unfortunate that Glass followed this up? Yes, that is for sure, but it was an interesting idea that was pulled off in a way that, ironically, only M. Night Shyamalan could. Now we have number 6, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I really, really like this. The twist is quite good because you're trying to figure out, well, what the hell is going on with this girl? And once it finally comes about, it is cool and very well done. A Cure for Wellness. The main guy in this has a face that I feel like is made for these types of movies. He plays the bad guy in this one kind of grounded superhero movie, and I like that. And he did well in this. Number 4, Terrifier. If you're subscribed, and odds are you aren't because a percentage of you aren't, and I don't take it personally, but if you don't subscribe now, well, I think that might be a hate crime. I'm not sure. But it is a series and a trilogy that I very much enjoy. And spoiler alert, all 3 are going to be included on this list. But yeah, Art the Clown, terrific character. I love the gore. Let's move on. 2, number 3, The Eyes of My Mother. This is black and white and foreign, which makes it a movie my dad will never watch. But for all of you listening, you should check it out, even if you're borderline on watching those types of movies, because the brutality, the disturbing nature of this are there in full force and will make you not regret checking it out. And our number 1 and number 2, both South Korean films, starting with 2, Train to Busan. It is a tremendous zombie film, action-packed, very, very well done. And number 1, The Wailing. This is a paranormal South Korean film that is just so damn creepy come the ending. Really, I can't do it justice. It is one of the best films on this list. And if you like good storytelling, I'm telling you, South Korea has a knack for that, and The Wailing is one of those tremendous examples. We're now going to 2017, and we're starting with Numero Diaz. That's 10 for you non-Spanish speakers. Apparently, I'm a non-English speaker, but jokes aside, I mean, what do you need more than a friend? And sometimes your friend is Jeffrey Dahmer, hence the name My Friend Jeffrey Dahmer. This is literally, I think, from the book of a real life friend of Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's kind of chilling to get an idea of what he was like, because believe it or not, Dahmer was kind of funny in his own like weird kind of black humorous way, and that just makes it even worse, in my opinion. Number 9, 1922. This isn't anything to write home about, but it is Stephen King inspired, and if you know anything about Stephen King, his stories are pretty entertaining almost every single time. Number 8 is Creep 2. This is a good follow-up. Now, personally, I like Creep 1 more than Creep 2, but this time we kind of have a stronger protagonist, whereas in 1, the protagonist, like us, was just like, what the hell is this movie? And by the time you find out, it's kind of too late. Number 7 is Terrified, not to be mistaken with Terrifier. This is a foreign film that it has some jump scares, I guess, or scenes that are super duper creepy that will really, really stick with you after this movie is done. Now, look, it's nowhere near the top of 2017, but I think it's a decent foreign horror film. So if foreign isn't an obstacle for you, if you don't mind reading those closed captionings, check this one out. Now, number 6, It Comes at Night. This was horrifically mismarketed. This was tremendously mismarketed, because It Comes at Night is not the jump scare kind of 100 RPM. That might be a lot. I don't know. Anyone, scientists, tell me, or smart people, rather. But It Comes at Night is a psychological horror that, after the pandemic kind of fits right in. It's like, what would you be willing to do for your family, and what is the horror of potentially getting infected? Number 5, Ghost Stories. I've heard some people say they really don't like this. I liked the narrative. The ending was really impactful for me, and overall just some kind of disturbing stuff and really, really solid horror film. 4, It Chapter 1. I got flamed for saying It Chapter 2 is better than this, and I get it. You like those child characters. Those actors are maybe a little bit more charismatic than the adults. I'll get to why I still stand by that come 2019, but rest assured, it is also a very good film and very much worth watching. Number 3, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. We now know Barry Keoghan, or Kogan, or however it's pronounced, is a tremendous actor. If you don't know, now you know. But here he is, he's creepy, he's weird, he's doing the type of stuff you would expect after watching Saltburn, but not quite that much. Great cast, very well done, and Yorgos Lanthimos is one of the most unique and cool directors out there, so check this out without a doubt. Number 2, One Cut of the Dead. This is the type of story that is unique in the way it's told, because the second half completely recontextualizes the first half, so trust me on this, daddy. Watch the whole damn thing. And number 1, Get Out. It's a classic of this last decade, classic of the 2010s, and it was a damn good debut. Perhaps the best debut of this decade that we're going to go over until maybe we get to 2022. But moving on to 2018, we have at my number 11, it seems, a recommendation from a fan like you, Butterfly Kisses. I love the kind of legend thing that they got going here. It's like Slenderman, but done better, and it works really well. Lords of Chaos, based on a true story. Death metal is interesting to learn about. That is the sales point of this, or pitch rather. Number 9, we got Suspiria. Look, you might appreciate the original more than this. Maybe certainly for length's sake, because if I remember correctly, the original is much shorter than this version, but the ending is really good. It's a classic story. It adds elements to it to make it its own, and I appreciate that, quite honestly. Now we got number 8, A Quiet Place. It's a classic story at this point. Classic might be a reach, but you know what I mean. People are familiar with it. It's a well done premise, much better than Bird Box. I like it. Then you have at number 7, The House That Jack Built. It's brutal, it's gory, and it's Lars von Trier. Need I say more? Number 6, Halloween. Such a good entry to start a shit trilogy. I'm sorry. The original Halloween, super good. This is, it does justice. It doesn't get out of the shadow of the original, but it at least feels like it was a worthwhile reboot, and then the sequels, that's a different discussion. Possum, number 5. This is disturbing. It is creepy. It is unsettling. It is very much worth watching. Number 4, Climax. It is Gaspar Noé. I can't say it is colorful best because Enter the Void is quite honestly just like insane, but it is right there with Enter the Void, but much more horrific in my opinion. There's crazy scenes that only Gaspar Noé can think of, and just, it's great. And definitely a must watch. Number 3, Hereditary. What can I say? This is an amazing movie and has a very good argument to be the best of the year. I think if I rewatch this, these top 3 could really be in any order. I went with my original take here, but I would agree with anyone who said, hey, look, Hereditary was the best of the year. Let's not be silly here. And, I'm not trying to be silly. It's just my gut take after ranking these originally. And I'm sticking to it. But number 2, Mandy. Look, Nick Cage, amazing. These dark, fantastical elements of the story are beautiful. I freaking love them. And it makes Mandy amazing. And then number 1, science fiction kind of horror amazing movie, Annihilation. It's H.P. Lovecraft on steroids, in my opinion. And it's not based on, H.P. Lovecraft, just getting that out there, but it is of that ilk, I should say, and it does so quite well. Number 10 for 2019 is Annabelle Comes Home. I watched this in a drive-in. Really fun movie. Good popcorn movie. Is it super scary? Not really, but fun to watch nonetheless. Number 9, Pet Sematary. Creepy scenes. Is it creepier than the original? No, but I think it is actually quite close in quality to the original. Number 8, Haunt. Now this kind of being above the other 2 movies, whatever, say what you will. I like the goriness. I like there's an element where you see the faces of the bad guys, and I was like, that was cool. I liked what they did there. The ending was so-so, but I still think there's good elements of like violence, and holy shit, these guys are actually like, I don't want to mess with these guys. That menace is something that generally you don't have anymore. Now we have Us at number 7, another Jordan Peele movie. It is really well done. Good story, which Jordan Peele is known for. I don't think it lives up to Peele's other movies, but that doesn't mean it isn't still very good. Then we have at, I believe, number 5, Ready or Not. I think this is a great like action thriller type horror movie. A good humor, great pace, and keeps you engaged the whole time. Now we have number 5. This is kind of like a dark horse, low-key, really good movie. It's a psychological like horror, The Lodge. I love the backstory of our main character and how that plays into like the premise of this movie, and I would definitely check it out. Somehow I forgot Saint Maud as I was recording this all the way through, and just to be clear, it was all in one take, so I will, as payment, subscription from you would be very fun. But nevertheless, Saint Maud is one that has intensity all the way through, was on that kind of religious bandwagon before it really got going in a big way in these more recent years. I mean, who am I kidding? All those possession movies, those are technically religious movies, but I digest Saint Maud, super intense, and the ending is even more intense than what you would expect. Number 3, we have It Chapter 2. Like I said, I think the beginning of this film is the one thing that kind of, it still sticks with me, and that alone is the only thing that gives it the edge over 2017 It Chapter 1. And like, I think if you look at the movies as a whole, yeah, I definitely could be swayed quite easily that It on a whole is better. I just think the high of that opening for It Chapter 2, it took the series, for lack of a better term, to a place I didn't think it could go to. Now we have number 2, The Lighthouse. Again, Robert Eggers is just, he's on one in a good way. This is, like I said, kind of like Annihilation in that fantastical elements, like the tales of the sea. So not like Annihilation, actually. It's like that folklore of, the Loch Ness Monster, which I know isn't a sea monster. I know that. But it gets that mixed up with the insanity of what's going on, and man, it's one to write home about. And then 2019's best, in my opinion, Midsummer. Ari Aster, you already know, Hereditary, Midsummer, Beau Was Afraid. He's a good director and a good egg, so I've heard. And Midsummer has some impactful scenes that pack a punch. Now we're going to we're going to 2020, the year, okay? And number 7, nope, check that. Number 8, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Great twist, kind of funny, and good performances. After that, 7, anything for Jackson. I like the paranormal elements. Kind of funny as well, with some brutal scenes. 6, Caveat. And I just want to be sure on this one, because there's some, there's elements of this that are okay, but there is some creepy stuff where you're waiting for movement, you're waiting for the jump scare, you're literally just staring down the barrel of a gun and waiting for it to go off. So kudos to that movie for doing that. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. Now we're on to number 5, if I can do my math right. Yep, Quiet Place Part 2. Again, you know what you're getting with this one, and it doesn't disappoint. Number 4, one that you really don't know what you're getting into, The Empty Man. This is also like Slender Man, like Butterfly Kisses, sort of Lighthouse, but takes it a completely different way, where it's really well thought out and well done. Above that, at number 3, Possessor. This is Cronenberg's son, Brandon. Really well done. Good body horror, but it also plays with the mind in a way too, the way that David Cronenberg would in his prime. Number 2, Invisible Man. And look, a lot of the reboots for those Universal monster movies didn't hit the mark, but Invisible Man did. It was a retelling the way it should be. And like, if we want to get into a debate which one's better, the original or this, that's a good discussion to have. But as it stands, it's the best, or one of the best, in 2020. And number 1, the actual best, is I'm thinking of Ending Things. Sorry for the mispronunciation, but look, I know I might get some pushback on this from people who find it pretentious, I don't know, but Charlie Kaufman is just one of the best minds in film. Adaptation, amazing. I also think Being John Malkovich is really good, and it's just tremendous examples of what he can think up. And it seems like, in my opinion, he thinks up things that very few people really can. Going into 2021, with number 7, Fear Street 1994. The whole trilogy makes the list, so just know that. It's the least best. It kind of plays off of Scream in a way, so you got that going. Number 6, Fear Street 1666. This is, kind of like The Witch inspired, but it ties the whole trilogy together, so it gets points for that. Coming in at number 5 is Titane. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is a weird movie. Just know that going in. Maybe a little bit disturbing, a little bit make you squirm in your seat juice in there, but I think it's pretty well done, thoughtful, and interesting. Above that, number 4, Black Phone. I was high on this when I first saw it. It hasn't quite resonated with me the same way after some time has passed. I do have some issues with the film, but that doesn't kind of blot out the fact that this is an interesting horror movie. That is, I think, still worth checking out. Number 3, Candyman. This was one that kind of got written off quite early, and I really, really like the original, and I like the original more than this one, but this still does some things to make it more psychologically impactful. Maybe not more so than the original, but it takes a film that it is, it provokes thought, that original, about, the circumstances that went into the creation, and it takes that ball and runs with it. The creation of the Candyman, and it takes that ball and runs with it, to say more clearly. Number 2, you probably guessed it, Fear Street 1978. It's my favorite of the bunch, and I think a lot of people also agree with that. It's kind of, it allows the movie the freedom to do basically a Jason movie, and it does so pretty well. And for those who miss having Friday the 13th, we have this movie and we have a 2024 movie that kind of fill that void. But number 1, by a long shot, quite honestly, for 2021 is Mad God. It's stop motion, it's creative, it's Phil Tippett. Watch the damn movie. Number 20, or I keep doing that. The year 2022, starting at number 16. Yeah, we got a lot of movies, y'all. Is Megan. It's kind of funny. It's interesting. It's, if you want to watch a horror movie and you've exhausted a lot of the other choices, I wouldn't recommend against it. Is it one you need to go out and watch right now? 15, The Menu. I like Ralph Fiennes, so I can't hate on this movie too much. And the cast is really good. But my kind of gripe with this film is just make the damn food, guy. I don't get your thing, so just make the damn food. 14, Hellraiser. I've said this in a lot of other videos, and I'm going to say it again. This is too sterile for the Hellraiser franchise. That's why it's as low as it is, but it's still good. It's still interesting, and it's still that Hellraiser story, and I like some of the new things they introduced with this one. 13, Terrifier 2. This one, it goes to a dark fantastical element, story, and I did enjoy that. It doesn't, I don't know, man. It doesn't completely knock the ball out of the park in comparison to Terrifier 1, and I think that's why this doesn't feel like the slam dunk that it should, despite having better production value and more money to really refine the craft. But it opened the story and the narrative up to have 3, so I have to thank 2 for that. But Terrifier 2 was solid, but it didn't feel like that giant leap forward that I was hoping for, just to kind of put everything into perspective. Number 12, Spile. My good friend, film junkie, aka Ethan, hates this one. I actually liked it. I was a fan, and I liked the ending too. It was pretty cool, though. No, it was just an interesting story. I thought it was well done. Number 11, X. My girlfriend hated this, but it's still it's well done and interesting. 27, Crimes of the Future. I mean, Cronenberg is the only one to make a dystopia like that. Just intriguing and gritty, and feel like, man, I kind of hope we don't turn into that, and understand or try to understand what he's trying to say with the film. an interesting watch for sure. And I'm kind of higher than consensus on that. So, maybe take that with a grain of salt, but I would definitely try that out. Number 9, Deadstream. It's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. Jump scares for sure. And one of them got me and I squealed. I squealed like a pig. If you've ever seen that movie that I'm blanking on, but it's a movie reference. Number 8, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I did not know that Pete Davidson was an actor. I thought he just hung around celebrities and dated Kim Kardashian and other celebrities, honestly. But no, this is interesting. I thought almost all the characters had a time to shine with this film. My dad completely disagreed, so, take that for what you will, I guess, but I enjoyed this. Number 7, Bones and All. Timothée Chalamet is great in this, and it's kind of a realistic take on a certain style of horror, and it does so pretty well, honestly. Number 6, Scream. They brought the franchise back in a big way, and I thought they did so quite well. I mean, look, if you like Scream, I think maybe none of the films are bad, and only one, and I think it's Scream 3. I'll put it up on the screen. There's one that honestly kind of lags behind the pack, but all of them are quite good. So I think it's a series that's worth watching for sure. One of the few horror series that has no stinkers. Number 5, Skinamarink. It's called quiet horror by some who actually know what they're talking about when it comes to movies. It is completely experimental and experiential. It'll take you back to a time when you were a little kid and scared, and kind of like a nightmare that you would have as a little kid. And some of you are going to hate this movie because very little dialogue. You're kind of just trying to piece together like what the hell is going on. It's not straightforward by any means, but the people who like this, like me, are really, really going to like it. Some people are going to love this film, but just let it be known right at the get-go. If the 15 minutes aren't doing it for you, if you're like, this is stupid, I hate it, maybe just cut your losses there, because it doesn't drastically shift. I mean, it definitely gets more intense, but its method of storytelling is so unique that you really just might not like it. Number 4, Speak No Evil, one of the most intense films on this list. I love it. The foreign version is really, really good. I haven't seen the American version because they did this version so well. It's like, why the need for it? And I get it. Closed captioning in foreign language isn't for everyone. So, maybe that's the main reason. But look, this is, trust me, you gotta watch it. If you don't mind foreign films, this is great. I don't know about the American version, so, maybe if you hate foreign, go watch that, but I don't know if that's an adequate replacement. Number 3, Barbarian, hilarious, good thrills, really, really well done. Number 2, Nope. This got snubbed by all records. It was just a very good movie, and felt like Jordan Peele's ode to Hitchcock, in my opinion. It feels like it pays homage to a ton of films. Great scenes. Like the one where the house is bleeding is amazing. The one at the sitcom set is great. There's commentary. Jordan Peele speaks to you through his films, and Nope had a lot to say that I found really, really interesting. And number 1 is Talk to Me, which is, I think, it's between Get Out and Talk to Me for best debuts. It's the best of the year. Trust me on this. Check it out, because the allegorical method of taking drug use and the horrors of that they haven't been done that well up till 2024, where there's another movie that's in the top 3 that does something like that, but it does so in its own unique way. It's a great movie. So seriously, check that out. Now we're on to 2023. Number 10, Monster Inside, documentary about McCaney Manor. If you're interested in that, check it out. If not, don't. Renfield, good kind of horror / comedy. I like Nick Cage. I like Nick Holt, so that helps carry that film a lot. Number 8, Thanksgiving. This is like another, cookie cutter, gory horror that seems to be coming out a good bit nowadays. And, I don't mind it. So there you are. Number 7, we got Run Rabbit Run. It doesn't, it's not supremely executed, but it definitely plays around with like psychologic horror. I like that generally. It didn't drop the ball a ton for me to like not include it, but it's not a tremendous example of that genre of horror, but good enough to make the list. Number 6, Evil Dead Rise. It's tough because it's a series that is so good. Like Scream, there's almost no stinkers at all. The main girl, the girl that turns into a deadite, is creepy as all hell. So, if you like the series, definitely check it out for that. Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan. He's that dude. Some people have pointed out a lot of stupidness about this film, but when I watched it, I wasn't thinking of any of that. I just kind of sat back, enjoyed the show. Number 4, Scream 6. Like I said about Scream, check out the whole series. It's really good. And these later entries are surprisingly good. Number 3, this is kind of a lesser known pick. It's Birth and Rebirth. It has Carla from Scrubs in it. It's a unique take on the Frankenstein story that I was a big fan of. Number 2, another kind of web darling, Late Night with the Devil. I know it got a lot of heat for its use of AI, but look, I can't, there's like thousands of people that work on a movie, and that decision was maybe made by 4. So I'm not going to write off an entire movie because of that. And like, look, if you're against that, let it be known in the comments. I likely agree with you, and maybe explain so we can all kind of have a good discussion about it. But look, I like the main actor, and this was a unique, well done story that should be watched and not avoided just for the AI thing. And number 1, When Evil Lurks. This is a foreign horror. It's a possession movie. It is brutal, and it's the number 1 of the year. So check that shit out. Now we're on to last year, and the last year for this video, 2024, and starting with, I want to say 17. Yeah, I watched a lot of horror. Abigail, cool twist, good action, good comedy, just an overall solid movie. Number 16, the other kind of subbed in Friday the 13th movie, In a Violent Nature. The reveal of the face of the dude was the only thing that was like disappointing, honestly. I kind of wish they wouldn't have done it and wait, because they're gonna have so much funding. They could have made that dude's face a lot better than what they had it, but you know what, they can always add to that in the future, make them look a lot better, in my opinion. 15, Trap. Like most M. Night Shyamalan movies nowadays, it has its issues. But the parts I enjoyed just enough for this to be a good movie, in my opinion, or 3 and above. 14, Beetlejuice. This isn't as good as the original, but it's, I think it gets by on nostalgia, quite frankly. I like Michael Keaton a lot, and bringing the cast back, it's honestly, it's nostalgia. And I liked Beetlejuice, so it gets a pass. 13, Immaculate. There is a film on this list that kind of does what this tries to do, but better. But it's an interesting plot. It's just a damn shame that it kind of gets done twice in the same year. 12, Quiet Place, Part 1. Good performances really carry this. Again, you know what you're getting into with The Quiet Place, and it's a prequel. So there's not like the ability to make huge changes, but it gets by on the acting. 11, I Saw the TV Glow. I think I said this in the original video. 90% of the movie, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then once it's finally revealed, you're like, okay, I kind of makes up for the 90% where I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on, and I'm not a big fan. But yeah, that ending, and then it makes you think. It really does. Very, very solid entry. If someone said it was great, I wouldn't argue with them. 10, Terrifier 3, best of the series. Gory, storytelling-wise, and just like the proficiency of filmmaking is impressive. Oddity, really well done. Neat plot. great story devices as far as like how the paranoia or the paranormal aspects work. And I found it interesting. Number 8, Smile 2. I thought this was better than Smile 1, and it took aspects. I mean, it messes with your mind. It's a mind-bending film, and I enjoy films like that, and I thought it did so very well. Number 7, Does What Immaculate Does, just better, and it's a great Omen kind of prequel. 6, Heretic. Hugh Grant, man, I did not know you were that good. You play your role very well. You are trying to figure out where the hell this is going, and I'm glad I watched it. Number 5, Alien Romulus. Talked to my dad about this. Does it bring much more to the table than Alien? I don't know, but it is very close to what Alien does. And again, it doesn't overshadow it or do anything much better. It just is solid and good. Great, in my opinion, but if you came down on the opposite side and didn't really like this, he just said he found it boring, but I did not. Number 4, if you can sit through horror films, watch this. It is crazy. It is off the chains, as the kids say. Really thought-provoking too. Like what just happened? Like I didn't even know like for sure. Like was this real? Was it not? What was going on here? Very very much enjoyed. Number 3, The Substance. Again, not again, but great performances, you know? And on top of that, I love the thoughtfulness of like the allegory of substance abuse, and how that is played in this movie. Number 2, Longlegs. I looked into this movie so much afterwards because it just like wouldn't leave my mind, and I just found out more and more about the script, and it impressed me so much because like there's just so many little Easter eggs and little nuggets about this film that were awesome, that I really, really liked. And number 1, Nosferatu. When it comes to cinematography, like this is one of the best films of the year of 2024. It's the telling of the story of Dracula, and it just executes it so well and makes these because it is a classic story that's been told like 50 times. It doesn't like, hey, let's branch off and set it in Kansas in 1950. No, it tells the story of Dracula. It just does it very well and makes little creative choices to separate itself from the pack. And I enjoyed those little creative choices. They were big enough for me to not feel like, oh, I've seen this a million times, because look, I've seen the story of Dracula and Nosferatu itself like 4 other times, but it was still worth watching. And Robert Eggers, I think, really, really proved himself to be one of the best when it comes to horror in this modern age with this film. Y'all, thank you for joining me through this whole thing. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, but also let me know what films I missed down below. I think the next video I'm going to be doing is 2015 to 2025 once we hit the mid-year point. So I'm going to be trying to find some good gems for 2025, but definitely make sure I don't miss any of the 2015 films. And if you find one good in 2025, let me know. That's all I have for now, and I will catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.